Leo soul, what if your mother in heaven is trying to reveal a terrifying secret? And today is the only day you're finally ready to hear it? You didn't find this video by accident. The truth is, you were guided here, summoned by a divine echo from beyond the veil. This is a spiritual calling disguised as a horoscope, a cosmic letter delivered at the perfect moment. If you feel something stirring in your heart right now, listen closely. Because your mother's soul watching you from heaven is trying to break her sacred silence. She's seen what you've been carrying. And she knows you've been shouldering far more than your fair share. You may have never said it out loud, but the exhaustion is there. The loneliness behind your strength. The unspoken fear that if you ever stop holding everything together, it will all fall apart. This message is urgent. It's about something ancient, hidden beneath your confidence, beneath your roar. A spiritual contract. A silent vow passed down through your maternal bloodline. A vow you didn't make but have been living out anyway. The vow to suffer in silence. To be the strong one. To lead without rest. To protect everyone else at the expense of your own soul. And now your mother, who has become one of your spiritual guardians, is ready to speak. To tell you the truth. Not to scare you, but to set you free. Welcome to Eternal Mindfulness. This is more than a reading, it's a sacred transmission. One designed to help you break a generational pattern that's been dimming your light and draining your spirit. Leo, you are the sign of the sun. But even the sun has a core of fire that no one sees. And today, we are going straight into that hidden place where the root of your pain begins and where your liberation must start. Have you ever wondered why you always feel responsible for everyone else's peace, but never truly at peace yourself? Why you're constantly holding space for others, but feel like you have no space of your own to fall apart, to rest, to breathe? It's not your fault. But it is your time. The spiritual contract ends here if you choose it. And this video will show you how. So I ask you, me loyal, golden-hearted Leo, what brought you here today? Was it a dream? A strange feeling? A quiet nudge in your spirit that you couldn't explain? Whatever it was, I want you to write it down in the comments. Share your birthday. And if this message already feels like it's speaking to your soul, comment the words, Divine Mother. That's how we confirm in this sacred space that you've received the signal. That you are one of the chosen ones ready to break the vow. Let me also take a moment to thank you from the bottom of my heart for your presence. Every like, every comment, every subscription to this channel isn't just a click. It's a soul agreement. A thread of connection that brings these healing messages to those who need them most. Your energy is what helps this community rise. So thank you for showing up for yourself and for others. You've already taken the first step. And trust me, Leo, you will want to stay until the very last minute of this video. Because what the universe is about to reveal next is nothing short of miraculous. Let's begin. Leo, your soul was never meant to carry what it didn't create. Yet somewhere in the silent echoes of your lineage, a vow was made, one forged not by your hands, but passed down like an invisible thread woven through time. This vow, born in hardship, survival, and emotional silence, has shaped generations of women in your family, and now it rests with you. But not to continue. To end. Imagine your mother in heaven not as a memory, but as a luminous star gently pulsing above you, always watching, always waiting. Her light reaches you in subtle ways through dreams, synchronicities, unspoken emotions, and sudden tears that seem to come from nowhere. She sees the weight you carry. She knows how often you've stood strong while trembling inside. She knows the pressure you've felt to keep everyone else afloat while your own soul treads water. And now, she's whispering the truth. The burden you feel? It was never truly yours. This moment of recognition is cosmic. In tarot, this burden is reflected in the Ten of Wands, a card of heaviness, of someone bent under weight not evenly distributed. It tells us that while your resilience is admirable, the weight has exceeded what was meant for one heart. Alongside it, the High Priestess stands a guardian of divine secrets and ancestral wisdom, suggesting that something long hidden is ready to surface, not to harm, but to heal. In astrology, this awakening often coincides with the Sun, your ruling planet, as a Leo being challenged by Pluto or Saturn. Pluto unearths. Saturn disciplines. Together, they create sacred pressure points in your birth chart that act like cosmic contractions, pushing you to birth something greater: freedom, self-awareness, and the breaking of karmic cycles. These transits may not be comfortable, but they are always purposeful. They are not punishments, they are invitations to transform. And you, dear Leo, have been chosen. Not because you are perfect, but because you are strong enough, brave enough, and soul ready to dismantle what no longer serves your bloodline. You are not the source of the pain, but you are the portal through which it can finally exit. We live in a world that often rewards silence, sacrifice, and stoic endurance. But healing doesn't happen through suppression, it begins in awareness. That subtle ache in your chest when you're alone. The exhaustion that sleep doesn't cure. The guilt when you say no. These are not flaws. They are signals. Your body, your heart, your spirit, they all know that something ancestral has reached its expiration. And your mother, whose love never died, only transformed, is confirming that now is the time. You don't need to confront the past with force. Instead, honor it by becoming the one who chooses differently. By speaking where others were silenced. By resting where others burned out. By loving yourself where others abandoned themselves. That is how you break the vow. That is how you restore the feminine strength in your lineage from suffering to sovereignty. Remember, your strength has never been about doing it all. True Leo power radiates not from performance, but from presence. When you dare to step into your truth, your ancestors cheer. When you forgive yourself, the lineage heals. When you say, "This ends with me," the entire story shifts. So let your mother's light guide you now, not to carry her pain, but to receive her love. To allow the vow to dissolve in your awareness. You are not alone. And you are not bound. You are the flame that frees the forest. You are the roar that breaks the silence. You are the turning point your ancestors prayed for, and the peace your descendants will inherit. Being a Leo often means carrying the unspoken agreement to always be the light even when you're burning out. There's a kind of nobility you wear like a crown, a magnetic presence that others instinctively lean toward. Your energy warms, your loyalty protects, and your voice can uplift a room. But what happens when the source of that light starts to flicker? When the one who holds everyone else begins to silently fracture beneath the weight of expectation? Energetically, Leo is ruled by the Suna symbol of vitality, life force, and illumination. But even the sun, for all its brilliance, must cycle through eclipses and sunspots. It's not immune to shadow. This is where the deeper layer of your story begins to unfold. Many Leos live their lives under a subtle but relentless script: be strong, be generous, be unshakable. And so, you do. You smile while tired. You give when you're running on empty. You show up even when you feel like falling apart. Because somewhere along the way, you learned that your value was tied to how unwavering you could appear. But this isn't strength, it's survival. True strength isn't about holding up the world. It's about knowing when to set it down. It's about recognizing the moment when your inner flame needs tending, when your emotional fuel is low, when the cost of carrying everyone becomes the price of your peace. Imagine your heart not as a battlefield of endurance, but as a sacred hearth. A place that radiates naturally when nurtured. A flame that doesn't demand applause to shine, but does require space to breathe. The truth is, you've been living in a system energetic, social, and perhaps even familial that rewards you for your resilience but rarely offers refuge. It praises your leadership but forgets to ask how you're really doing. You may be the one others depend on, but how often do they truly see you? And more importantly, how often do you allow yourself to be seen, without the armor, without the role, without the roar? This is the emotional paradox of Leo. You're powerful, yes. But you're also deeply sensitive, intuitive, and often more affected by rejection and invisibility than you let on. That smile, your signature strength, has sometimes become a mask, a shield, a quiet place to hide the exhaustion you've convinced yourself you must endure. From an energetic healing perspective, this kind of overfunctioning drains the solar plexus and heart chakras. You begin to lose the joy of doing when everything becomes a duty. You stop receiving because you've built an identity on giving. And the warmth you once freely shared becomes tinged with resentment, depletion, or quiet despair. But there's another way. A softer path that doesn't abandon your power, it refines it. You can still lead, still shine, still inspire, but not from self-sacrifice. From self-connection. From wholeness. It begins by acknowledging your own needs, your fragility, your right to rest. It begins by saying, I matter too. And that is not selfish. It's sacred. So if you've been nodding quietly through this, feeling that familiar tug in your chest, know this: you're not alone. What you feel is real. And it's okay to ask for space. It's okay to need more than admiration. It's okay to need love, softness, refuge. You are not just a lion roaring at the world. You are also the lion who curls up, who needs warmth, who deserves to be held without conditions. Your light was never meant to be a performance. It was meant to be a presence. And now, you are being invited to honor that light by no longer pretending you're fine when you're not. By no longer trying to do it all. You were never meant to. You were meant to be whole. There are certain wounds we carry that do not belong solely to us. They come quietly, hidden in the tone of a grandmother's voice, in the patterns of a mother's silence, in the way generations of women before us learned to survive without ever learning how to fully be seen. These are not just memories. They are energetic imprints, emotional legacies encoded into our nervous systems, inherited through the maternal line, passed like heirlooms wrapped in secrecy and sacrifice. For many Leos, These ancestral patterns express themselves as an unrelenting pressure to earn libido, prove worthiness through excellence, loyalty, or emotional containment. You may have been told you were born to shine, but somewhere along the way, you learned that love comes with conditions. You may fear abandonment not because you're broken, but because someone in your lineage was once left behind in silence. You may hold back tears, not because you lack feeling, but because somewhere deep inside, your soul believes that vulnerability is dangerous. That belief didn't begin with you. When we look at the reversed Empress card in tarot, we're shown a distortion of the divine feminine. Instead of nurturing, there's depletion. Instead of sensuality, there's disconnection. This card often surfaces when a person is unconsciously living out the unmet needs of the women who came before them, when they're parenting others from an empty cup or creating beauty while neglecting their own softness. Combined with the Three of Swords, which speaks of emotional wounding, betrayal, and heartbreak, we see a pattern of withheld tenderness that didn't start with you but that's waiting for you to break. The law of attraction teaches us that we magnetize what matches our dominant vibration. And yet, many of us are vibrating at frequencies that were never originally ours. If you carry a belief that love must be earned, you will attract relationships that test your worth. If you carry a fear of abandonment, you will find yourself in dynamics where you feel unseen or left behind. Not because you're destined for pain, but because your energy field is still holding a frequency rooted in ancestral memory, not current reality. But what if you could shift that? What if recognizing that this pain isn't entirely your own is the very first step to releasing it? There is immense power in naming what was once unspoken. The quiet, inherited vows, the ones that said, "I must not need too much," or "I must carry this alone," lose their grip the moment you speak your truth. This is not a betrayal of your mother or her mother before her. It is an act of spiritual maturity, of deep love. You are not rejecting their stories, you are giving them a new ending. In astrology, the moon represents the mother, the emotional body, and our subconscious programming. When transiting planets activate your natal moon, especially from Pluto or Chiron, they often bring buried family pain to the surface for healing. Not to hurt you, but to awaken you. You are being asked to rewrite the emotional blueprint. To recognize that emotional intimacy is not earned by being invulnerable. It is created through authentic expression. You were not born to live out someone else's unfinished chapter. You were born to complete it with grace. To turn sorrow into insight, distance into connection, silence into song. Your mother does not want you to repeat her patterns. She wants you to speak what she could not. She wants you to be free. So if your heart tightens at the thought of being truly seen, if you've spent your life trying to deserve what was always yours, know this: the vow ends with you. You are not just the echo, you are the voice. Say what you've never said. Feel what you've never allowed yourself to feel. In doing so, you heal not just yourself but every woman in your line who never had the chance. When you reach this point in your journey, Leo, something within you already knows, a shift is happening. The weight you've been carrying, the heaviness that you've mistaken for responsibility or even identity, has quietly revealed itself to be a spiritual contract, one that was never consciously signed, yet faithfully upheld. These contracts aren't written in ink. They're written in energy. Often born from unspoken generational agreements, they sound like whispers you've internalized since childhood. I have to be the strong one. I don't get to fall apart. My needs can wait. My worth is measured by how much I can endure. But what happens when those vows no longer align with your soul's purpose? This is the moment of awakening. A point of divine interruption. A place where life gently but unmistakably asks, "Are you willing to be free?" You see, a spiritual contract only holds power over you as long as you unconsciously accept its terms. The minute you bring it into the light, question it, and choose again, something sacred happens. The chain doesn't just loosen, it dissolves. In numerology, sequences like 999, 1515, or 1155 often appear during times like these. They are not coincidences. They are vibrational codes, energetic nudges from the universe that signify completion, release, and renewal. When you see 999, it's an invitation to close a karmic chapter. When 1515 appears, you're being guided to reset your inner foundation. And 1155 calls you into bold transformation through personal choice. If these numbers have been appearing in your life, they are signs that your soul is ready to rewrite its own laws. Color holds energy too. Deep violet connects with the crown chakra, symbolizing liberation and divine release. Emerald green activates the heart, reminding you that true strength comes from softness and compassion. And silver white light carries the frequency of purity, helping you clear what doesn't belong to you so you can remember who you truly are underneath the programming. This isn't about severing ties with your past in anger or rebellion. It's about returning to yourself with reverence. One powerful ritual I often share is this: take a blank piece of paper. In stillness, allow your hand to write down the beliefs, burdens, and identities you are ready to let go of. No judgment. No filter. Just truth. Then, with intention and respect, burn the paper in a safe space. As the flames rise, so does your declaration: I release what is not mine. I return to myself with gentleness. This is not just symbolic. Fire is a transmuting force. It clears what has lingered in your energetic field and opens space for renewal. The law of attraction responds not only to your words, but to your vibrational clarity. When you declare that you are no longer available for self-sacrifice, martyrdom, or emotional invisibility, the universe aligns new frequencies to match that truth. You begin to attract people, opportunities, and experiences that see you not just the role you've played, but the essence you are finally reclaiming. Letting go doesn't mean forgetting. It doesn't dishonor your mother, or her mother, or any woman who came before you. It honors their pain by refusing to repeat it. It honors their strength by choosing softness. It honors their silence by choosing to speak. This is the paradox of healing. By choosing yourself, you also liberate your lineage. So if you're ready, take a breath. Close your eyes. Let the old vows fall away. You don't need them anymore. You were never meant to prove your worth through pain. You were always meant to embody peace. And now, Leo, you have permission to live as if that's true. Success, for many Leos, has long been tied to visibility. Applause. Recognition. The sense that their light means something only when it's reflected back to them by others. And for a time, this works. The roar of the crowd becomes a form of fuel. The title, the role, the spotlight all feels like affirmation. But there comes a moment, often quiet and deeply personal, when all of that begins to lose its shine. When the outer glow fades just enough to reveal an inner truth, that success, when detached from soul alignment, leaves a residue of emptiness. It whispers, "You've done everything right, so why don't you feel whole?" This is where we begin to rewrite the story. What if success wasn't a place you arrive at, but a state you return to? What if success was no longer about striving, but about allowing? Not about proving your worth, but remembering it? For Leo, whose identity is shaped by the sun, true power was never meant to be borrowed from other people's praise. It was meant to rise from within, steady and sure, even in silence. Even in solitude. Redefining success means pulling your energy inward, not to hide it, but to honor it. It means asking harder, more honest questions. Does this version of success nourish me or deplete me? Am I growing, or am I performing? Does this goal align with who I've become or with who I thought I had to be? As a guide in the healing space, I often witness the moment when someone realizes that their most celebrated achievements came at the cost of their health, their rest, their joy. And in that space, we begin to reconstruct a life that doesn't demand they break down to feel valued. Instead, we anchor them back into rhythms that restore. Let's ground this in reality, Leo. Start with your body. When was the last time you treated it like a temple, not a machine? Add more magnesium-rich foods, leafy greens, avocados, pumpkin seeds to support your nervous system. Prioritize vitamin D through sunlight or supplementation, especially if your energy has felt low or your mood unsteady. Don't underestimate the sacred power of stillness. Morning sun salutations or gentle yoga help restore not just flexibility in your body, but flow in your spirit. And sleep deep, uninterrupted rest is not a reward, it is medicine. Your work life deserves examination, too. If you're constantly burned out, anxious, or feeling like you're running toward a goal that keeps moving further away, pause. The right path will never require you to abandon your health or peace of mind. It may challenge you, but it won't destroy you. Consider whether what you're building is truly sustainable or if it's rooted in fear of falling behind. Your soul came here with a blueprint, and it's time to return to it. And in Lovia, Leo, your heart is so big, so brave, but often so guarded. Because somewhere deep down, you've been taught to offer your best self and hide your most human one. But what if the right person isn't looking for your perfection? What if they're waiting for your truth? The real magic happens when you stop performing and start receiving. When you let yourself be seen as you are, you give others permission to do the same. That's when intimacy becomes healing, not effort. You're not here to chase validation. You're here to become whole. To walk into rooms and radiate not because you're being noticed, but because you finally see yourself. That is success. Not the roar of the crowd, but the quiet certainty that you're living in alignment with your spirit, your purpose, and your peace. And that's a legacy worth building. And so, dear Leo, if you've made it here to this final breath of the message, then perhaps a deeper part of you has already begun the release. You didn't come to this video for mere insight. You came to be reminded that the heaviness you've been carrying is not yours alone. That the ache behind your strength has a name. That your mother, whether in this world or the next, has been gently whispering, "It's time." This revelation was never meant to frighten you. It was meant to free you. The silence you inherited doesn't have to be your destiny. The vow you've unknowingly upheld, off always being the strong one, the quiet one, the one who gives without limit, can end here. You are not breaking your lineage by choosing peace. You are healing it. What would shift in your life if you no longer had to earn your worth? What would open inside you if you no longer hid your softness just to prove your strength? What if success, love, joy, and rest could all exist without performance, without permission? You don't walk this path alone. Even now, as you sit in stillness, you are being held by your ancestors, by your future self, by a universe that is infinitely more patient and loving than you've been taught to believe. You are not late. You are not behind. You are exactly where your soul needs you to be. So now I invite you to do something simple, yet sacred. In the comments, write the words, "I have awakened." Let it mark your moment of return. Let it seal your permission to stop carrying what was never yours. Let it be a signal not just to this community, but to your own heart that the cycle ends with you. If this message touched you in any way, I invite you to share it with someone else who may need to hear it. You never know whose soul is quietly asking for a sign. Your simple act of sharing might be the exact light that breaks through someone else's darkness. And before we close, I want to thank you deeply, sincerely, for being here. Every like, every comment, every subscription to Eternal Mindfulness is a thread in the tapestry we're weaving together. You are not just a viewer. You are part of a collective awakening. You are one of the brave ones, the chosen ones. And yes, you will rise from this. If you haven't already, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss the next divine message that was meant just for you. Until then, keep walking gently toward yourself. You are already enough. You are already free. And your light, your true, sacred Leo light, is only just beginning to shine.